Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this night-ending bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's end of the night bonus upload, shall we? This is the upload that gets us right up to our live stream, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do hope to see you all there. Saturday Nightmares, live from upstate New York. Now, let's get into some encounters. This account took place in the summer of 2018 in the village of Consort near a grain elevator. A sighting that would leave one woman completely confused and not knowing what lurks within the darkness. As she was walking her dog, like she has always done before, she decides to walk past the grain elevator. It'd be a nice change in pace. Well, she was wrong, and as she walked past the dimly lit old spotlights that have not changed since the Great Depression, she goes on to say about how her dog started to act up and yank itself free and run into the darkness. After what? Many believe it could have been a vast variety of things. For me, I believe to be the deer man. Why? It's been reported that the deer man does crave the flesh of small animals, though it is reported that the sound of the deer had been heard, including the odd sounds of a deep-voiced creature attempting to communicate with her. Though this could also be a misunderstanding on the witness' behalf. Before anything could happen, she scooped up her dog and ran through the night until she reached the porch of a neighbor's home. Banging on the door in panic, she was greeted by her half-asleep neighbor, who reported that she was on the verge of a full-blown panic attack, gripping her dog tight. He let her in, and before she could do anything, she collapsed. She awoke on the couch and could not believe what had happened. So, she and a few of her friends decided to go back in hopes of finding any trace of the unknown beast. And to no avail. On the night, she came close to being another statistic of vanishing without a trace. Just like many others who disappear in rural communities, was this the deer man of central Alberta? Perhaps we'll never know. The Meeting Creek Encounter. Meeting Creek, a small hamlet with a population of only 21. Though this small, sleepy corner of society in central Alberta was home to a sighting that its residents wish it was never part of. Meeting Creek is located just off of Highway 56, and it looks like something like a living version of a Rockwell painting. Though on the night of August 21st, 2018, as the sun began to rise up in the sky and erase the unknown darkness that is the night, as there are breathtaking sights to see by means of scenery. Speaking with a retired librarian who wanted her name omitted, fear of ridicule by those around her, seeing something like a deer man would make one appear a tad bit off. This isn't anything new, as many of those who have seen Sasquatch or the Loch Ness have gone through their fair share of ridicule. It was early morning, and she awoke to a routine of making herself a pot of coffee and her breakfast. Though she lived alone, she never felt scared. But when the moment came on that fateful day, when only a double glass pane window separated her from what could only be described as a creature not of this world, while she looked out her window as the coffee was brewing there, standing just yards away, was the deer man. She recalled that it stood perfectly still like a statue. Their eyes were locked, and neither of them blinked. And before she knew it, the creature slowly made its way to the window. Her blinking eyes were almost hypnotic, she described. But as this bond was made, it was quickly cut off as it turned around and began to make its way back to where it had come from. But not before taking a few crab apples from her tree. Ever since then, she has continued to wake up at the same time every single day in hopes of catching a glimpse of what she said was the most majestic animal she has ever seen. She never felt fear like the others who have reported their encounters with the deer man, but maybe the deer man isn't bad after all. Maybe it's just misunderstood. Who honestly knows? The farmer and the deer man. This report takes place smack dab right on Highway 53, west of Donalda, and it deals with a farmer and his livestock. If you are faint of heart, I suggest you understand that in the world of living, life is born and taken away. With that being said, a farmer was awoken one night to the sound of his pigs screaming in fear. This woke him up and caused him to run outside in his underwear, brandishing a rifle. He scanned the area and found that all of his pigs were accounted for. Not knowing just what had spooked his pigs, he fired 2 rounds into the air in hopes of scaring what he only assumed was coyote, or perhaps another vastly larger predator. But on that night, he was called yet again to check on his cows, who were crying out into the night. The farmer did not know what to make of it. Quickly got his son and ran toward the barn. The cows were clearly spooked and were stomping their hooves and shrieking like someone was there or something. He had already crossed off coyote, as it would have run away by now, and everything looked clear. He was about to leave the barn. That was until he heard the floor creak above him in the hayloft. That's when he realized that whatever it was hiding above. Now, he said he initially thought it to be kids, perhaps wanting to tip a cow or try to rob him. Before he could say a single word, a noise that filled him with fear echoed through the barn, driving his animals into a frenzy. Before he could do anything, the mysterious figure jumped down, bolted through the night. This wasn't the end, as he fired another shot, and this time almost hitting the deer man. It was too late, and the creature vanished into the night. The animals were all unharmed and were on the edge for the rest of the night. After a few days, the dust settled down and life returned to normal for the most part. But now he sleeps with one eye open and his rifle loaded next to his bed. The sighting at Willow Canyon Trail in Donalda. Founded in 1911, Donalda is a village located in central Alberta and is known for having the largest lamp in the world. Plus, it's the birthplace of actress-model Tricia Hulfer. Now, with that being said, it's a quiet part of the world, a small community where the only thing that happens is the annual village festival. But that all changed on the day of April 24th, 2002. When a hike through Willow Canyon revealed something that was never meant to be seen by human eyes. While an elderly woman whose name she did not wish to reveal in the article, out of fear of public scrutiny, recalled her sighting of the elusive deer man. As she was committed to doing her daily hike routine in order to stay fit and active, she was alone, and just thought that the day would be like any other. She was clearly wrong, as she was about to come face to face with a creature that is only reserved for nightmares. She recalled that she heard nothing but silence, a common trait when there is a predator around. She was taken aback by this, as she usually heard birds or other hikers in the area, but not today. She stopped and was feeling a sense of dread. Soon she heard a sound of a twig snapping, and as she turned, she came face to face with what she could only call the deer man, who stood before her like a statue. The feeling of terror washed over her. She did not move an inch. The deer man took steps forward towards her, and was clearly a few feet taller than her. It attempted to communicate, she recalled, as if it was trying to talk, but all it could mutter was that of what a deer makes while warning others. The day was cool and damp, and though this being completely naked like the wild man, it didn't show effects of said weather, not a shiver or a tremble. It reached out its hand in attempt to touch her, but before it could, in the distance, a conversation could be heard between two other hikers, and a dog was barking like it was rabid. The next thing she knew, the deer man bolted from the scene. Just what was it about to do is up for debate, but one thing for sure, that if this creature was attempting to communicate with a person, or was it about to prey on its next victim? No one can say for sure. But its fear of being spotted by people was not an issue before, until the sound of the dog. Is this creature afraid of our four-legged companions? Or did it fear retaliation if it decided to be hostile in search of food? After the event took place, she decided to run towards the others and warn them of what she had just saw. Not knowing exactly what she was talking about, they believed she saw something truly terrifying. As they left with her, they had to restrain their dog, as it began going crazy, attempting to break itself free from its owners and run into the unknown. Was it attempting to protect those nearby from a horrendous threat, or was it being drawn in for a potential meal? No one knows for sure, but the rise of deer man sightings are beginning to grow, as central Alberta is now under a new threat, and that is a creature that is growing more bolder with every passing day. Midnight stuck between the living and the dead. With the ever-growing sightings of the deer man coming from Donalda and a village nearby, Rosalind, expect the next sighting to come from this small pocket of society. This sighting comes in from a 17-year-old kid traveling to see his friends on a Friday night on a May-long weekend. Usually, they are cruising around and exploring the countryside, but on this day something happened. And that is, he got lost driving down Range Road 174, decided to pull off the road and turn off to the crop production service road while he tried to gain his bearings, and as the world around him was becoming an alien world, he didn't expect to witness a sight that he will never forget. Slowly he begins to turn around and make his way back to a part of his journey that may jog his memory. As he's driving way below the speed limit in an attempt to get his bearings, he coasted until he came to a complete stop, as the sight that befell him was a monstrous one. The very thought of a half-man, half-deer on all fours standing perfectly still. The strange creature was attempting to cross the road, but perfectly still like a statue. It was beyond anything he could imagine. Not knowing what to do, he just sat there, his mouth agape and the stench of musk in the air. And soon seconds turned into minutes. He was afraid to move an inch, as he thought any moment this beast would attack him and do God knows what to him. His thoughts were racing through his head of his parents not knowing where he was, or of not graduating, not going to prom, not being able to follow his dreams. The deer man slowly stood up, revealing its true height, and slowly began to walk toward the car. Moving just like that of a deer, his very quick and skittish movements while temperature dropped, steam could be seen shooting out of its nostrils. It silently towards him and began letting out snorts that cut through the air and filled him with fear. Just as the deer man stood a few feet from the driver's side window, the young man began to cry, and without a second to spare, he threw the vehicle into drive and sped off. The last of the deer man occupying the same distance as the nameless individual was that he slowly began to run toward the vehicle until it gave up. Through his rear view, he saw it get back on all fours and return into the darkness. It was a night that would never be forgotten, and with that note, the world of the deer man is being more exposed by every passing day. When will this madness stop? The deer man sighted in Muir, Alberta. The hamlet of Muir is located in Lacombe County in central Alberta and along Highway 50 and 21. It was incorporated as a village in 1870, and soon its numbers dropped, giving it the title of a hamlet. The community is small, and it's the type of place where everyone knows each other's business. So with a population of roughly 502 people, someone's bound to see something. And that's just what happened during the early mornings of a cool spring morning, when a thick fog forged through the countryside and soon blanketed the landscape and gave off an eerie feeling of the unknown. It was something that resembled the film The Mist. This report is not based on the experience of a single person, but instead of a husband and wife, a church-going couple who were retired and both worked for the county of Lacombe, and both couldn't believe what they had seen. As like they always did on this day, they ate together, had coffee, and decided to drive through the country, a tradition they've kept for the latter part of 20 years. On that fateful morning, the two drove through the fog and turned off the main Highway 50 and decided it would be a nice change if they drove up Range Road 225, a decision that would soon lead to a sighting that they will never forget. While they drove slowly through that fog, they both claimed they saw something moving in and out of the fog with such great speed that it could not have been a man. While they continued to drive, and they could swear it looked like a deer, but it was far too large to be a deer. Not wanting to scare the known skittish animal, the husband slowed to a stop and waited for a moment or two, in hopes of having it run away, in hopes of not hitting it. Slowly, the husband began driving again and was forced to slam on the brakes, as standing just a few feet in front of them was the deer man. It stood perfectly still and slowly stood up on its hind legs, and is said to have towered over their car. Without a second thought, the husband slammed on the horn and stepped on the gas. The fear took hold of him. He didn't want to have his life end, if that was in the cards or not. He didn't want to find out, and was protecting the life of his wife. Just before his car was about to make contact with the deer man, it bolted into the fields covered by thick fog. The couple, having no idea what they saw, and did not stop until they reached their driveway. As night fell upon the hamlet of Muir, the couple were stuck with more questions than answers. They talked through the night, and thought what they had seen was nothing more than a trick of the mind. Though in the morning they both believed what they had seen, that of the elusive deer man. Since then, they don't drive through the country that much anymore. They described the dead eyes that cut through them like a knife. They never believed in the deer man. That was until that one day, and now they wish they had never seen it. A part of you dies when you see something like that. Thought would never exist. This is a common trait for those who have seen other such creatures. You begin to wonder if you've been lied to your entire life, though sometimes the truth makes you only wish to live a life of lies when you see just what you thought was never meant to be. A chance encounter with an illegal hunter. Night hunting is something frowned upon. Those who go out at night drive around old roads with a rifle and a spotlight. This act is something to be arrested over. If you go out at night and potentially blind targets for sport, then you don't deserve to be free. But this report comes from someone who may or may not have taken part in such an activity. On a summer night outside of Roseland, Alberta, down an old, almost forgotten by community, you can find many of these roads out in the country that lead through farmers' fields, though I suggest not trespassing through fields. On that night, a hunter drove about, caught witness of a buck he had his sights on. He waited a few minutes as he quietly reached for his rifle, as he quickly flung on his high beams, and standing before him just a few feet from the driver's side window was a deer man. In the fit of panic, the cowardly hunter threw the truck into drive and sped off. He reported that a short period of time the deer man was catching up to his truck. That was until he turned off onto Highway 609 and sped away. He admits that he did not slow down until he reached the turnoff, until he reached his home. Next day, he returned to the same spot located on the map, but could not find the deer man. He thought no one would believe him. The groundskeeper of St. Elizabeth Cemetery. May 7th, 1976, at Greenview Cemetery, located in the village of Roseland, Alberta. Groundskeeper pulled up to the gates with his old GMC pickup, and as he unlocked the gates to start his day mowing, ensuring its residents that their final place was clean and free of trash, he started going through his list and began his job that morning. Though that morning wasn't like any other he'd experienced before or after, because that day he stumbled across an anomaly. While examining the grounds and tending to his duties, one always sees wildlife, whether it be prairie dog or crow. But on this day it was quiet, not a single bird in the sky or insect to be seen. Something felt off, and it was something that could not be explained. But he couldn't wait around. He had a job to do. He unloaded the lawnmower and began to spruce the place up. He was overcome by a strange sense of being watched by something. Though it was too early in the morning, and people don't usually arrive at the cemetery that early, especially in the small community of Roseland. Started working, and he could smell a foul odor wafting through the air, thinking that perhaps, maybe, there was a dead animal nearby. He stopped doing what he was doing and began to investigate the source. Soon he reached an old iron fence, scanning the area to find only what he described as a large deer behind the trees. The two locked eyes, as resting in front of the creature was a mutilated body of a dog with its internal organs now external. Wet blood stained its hair, and this is something you do not see every day. Now, it's been recorded that deer, when desperate, will turn to eat meat, if only the odds of finding food is extremely low. As moments passed, the groundskeeper was taken back when the deer rose up, revealing its human-like body. It let out a terrifying hiss like a deer would if staring at someone or something that poses a threat. Without even blinking, it picks up the corpse of the dog, and without a moment to spare, it turns and bolts into the trees. Fairy Point Valley sighting. A relaxing Sunday afternoon at the cusp of fall harvest season, the season of gathering all that has been sowed. Though this sighting is somewhat of a strange one, as it's reported that the deer man was drinking, and how it drank was just what you'd expect. Before we share it, the father and daughter were on the other side of the body of water. As they were fishing, they spotted some strange movement coming from the other side. It drew the attention of the daughter, who pointed it out to the father, thinking it may have just been another fisherman or perhaps someone going for a walk. It was until they noticed something was not right, and they witnessed the elusive deer man. They described it as having the lower half of a man and the upper half of a deer. It was on its hands and knees and drinking water like it was going out of style. The type of drinking that was described as an athlete after scoring a goal. As they watched in amazement, the deer man quickly bolted its head and scanned the area, sensing them, and they knew it. Its mannerisms were that of a wild deer. Slowly it stands up and lets out this snort. Not knowing what to do, the father and daughter just stood there and watched in amazement. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, it bolted away. They don't know what they had just seen, but they knew it was not normal. Its mannerisms are like that of a wild man crossed with a deer. Sightings in the area roughly around are on the rise, though. In the beginning, they've been isolated to a certain spot here and there, but now it's almost as if this unknown species is beginning to make its rounds in central Alberta. October 28th, 1987. The air was crisp as winter was right around the corner. Halloween decorations were up, and some kids in the area thought it'd be fun to go around wandering through the empty fields. They walked around many of the area and crossed many uninhabited roads due to the time of day they were crossing them. Even today, these roads that dart across the landscape are pretty tame. Sure, you'll see an odd semi or a farmer drive about the area, or maybe even an odd police officer. But at this time of year and at night, everything is dead quiet. It is said that they decided to carry on a while. They were bored, looking to pass time. That's when one revealed that he had stolen some cigarettes from their parents. As they stood in the harvested field, they were all quiet and lit their smokes. That's when the silence was broken by the sound of someone or something running in the distance. Thinking it was a farmer whose field had been trespassed in, they quickly put down their lights and stood silently in the darkness. Though afterward, they wouldn't have wanted it to be the farmer. They would have wanted it to be the farmer, It sounded as if it saw them in the pitch blackness and changed directions, heading toward them. It ran past them and quickly cut across Ridge Road 174. Just as it did, a farmer driving an old late 70s Ford pickup truck had to swerve to miss colliding with the creature. For a split second, they saw the outline of the deer man running through the darkness, heading towards God only knows where. Those who have witnessed these events are certainly baffled and terrified. Deer man spotted off of Highway 609. For those that are not familiar with 609, it runs for 42 kilometers in length, or 26 miles. For those of you who use the imperial system, it's running right under the village of Rossland. It's mainly used by truckers transporting the harvest or those traveling through the countryside. It's honestly a very lonely road, nestled between farmers' fields, with crops stretching as far as the eye can see. Speckled through the landscape, you'll see the odd farmhouse occupied by hard-working families, though there are some that are just nothing but empty shells. This sighting of the deer man takes place in the spring of 1987, during the beginning week of June. The winter is warm and smelled like new life in the blossom from the fields of wheat growing. An old man named J. Roberts, who drove a semi for a company located just outside of Edmonton. J. Roberts was transporting his cargo after a long haul, though, most of the province, and in the distance he reported seeing something or someone dart across the highway. Quickly he slams on his brakes in an attempt not to hurt whatever it was. While the truck slowed to a halt, he investigated the area and found that he was alone. At first he thought maybe his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as the dust settled and he calmed down, he turned to his right and saw what he could only describe as a man from the stomach down. The rest was a mismatch of human qualities crossed with a deer. He describes the head as looking almost exactly like a buck's, when he went to describe its eyes as being almost lifeless, like that of a doll's or those of a great white. He felt a sickening feeling wash over him, like he was not supposed to see the identity of this creature. He recalls he drove quickly off, not wanting anything else to do with it since this encounter. He's always kept his eye out for it, and so he began documenting his experiences with it, though that was the first and only time he has laid witness to the deer man. Deer man sighting at the campground. Roslyn Campground is located on 2nd Ave. Rests in a large open field for those who wish to rough it like they did while traveling the countryside. Now, this is important as the place is littered with barrels used for trash cans and free firewood. On the day of August 10th of 97, the sighting of the deer man was reported to the RCMP, rejected as they thought the caller was just pulling a fast one on them. This, of course, was far from the truth. A visitor who was just passing by while she decides to spend the night as she was passing through. As the night grows darker, the moon slowly rises. She's alone with her 1986 Chrysler K car and a one-person pop-up tent. Her name has been withheld in fear of ridicule. She said it was around 4 in the morning when she heard the sounds of footsteps walking toward her. They weren't what you'd expect from a person. They were almost silent except for the sound of the leaves being crushed under her feet. She thought it may have been a dog or something. For a moment she thought it could be a deer or perhaps another animal, and she wanted to take a photo. Once she unzips the flap and reaches for her camera, she was greeted by this mysterious creature, standing perfectly still like a statue, and looked her over with what she described as dead eyes, almost what you'd find on a doll or perhaps a taxidermied deer. Before she could snap a photo, it ran into the darkness of the light, leaving another soul to witness its freakish existence. Since then, groups of people have been trying to spot a glimpse of the deer man to prevail, though some have said they've spotted it while driving down N Ave Railway. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's end of the night bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.